Well, Mike Jacobs was one of the first reporters in Rome to cover the death of Pope John Paul II. Katie Crowther has more as we look back at Mike's career to remember. Katie.
Carol, Mike says it was one of the most emotional stories he's ever covered. People from all over the world converged on the Vatican to mourn the loss of a beloved pope who had led the church for 27 years.
The candles are burning for Pope John Paul. As we record this, it's 2 o'clock in the morning Rome time.
Working around the clock, Mike Jacobs brought us live reports from Rome. He was in St. Peter's Square as Pope John Paul II took his last breath.
It is difficult to adequately find the words to describe what we are witnessing here today.
Tens of thousands of faithful streamed into the Vatican, camping out on the cobblestone streets. Many of the devout came from the pontiff's native Poland. Mike also found many people from Milwaukee, including students on a school trip, and Father Peter Mitchell, who was studying in Rome.
He really is our Father, and I would say that's my father has died, and that's the sentiments in our heart right now.
Because the area was so congested, Mike and his crew decided to sleep in their workspace the night before the funeral.
There was a little hardware store about a block from our little motel, and I went in and I bought a bunch of these chase lounges and took them to our workspace. And we slept there because we didn't want to get caught out of position, and we didn't want to sleep on the floor.
Anything to make sure they didn't miss the story. A story they'd been planning for since the Pope's health started deteriorating.
For 6 months before the Pope died, every place I went, I carried my regular suitcase and my Pope suitcase. So if I had to leave from the station, it was in the trunk of my car.
Then his news director made the call.
One day, we heard the word grave condition, and he called in Chopper 4. We flew from Milwaukee to O'Hare, got on a plane to Rome that night.
It turned into a trip of a lifetime that Mike will never forget.
A very emotional, religious experience, regardless of your faith. What a great opportunity.
And you know what the story doesn't tell is, that's a 7-hour time difference. I mean, not only emotional, but you're going on very little sleep.
It was such an emotional time, and honestly, the transformation from Rome normal to all of a sudden all the mourners coming in. And my dad was a minister, so I grew up in a religious environment, so it was especially touching for me just to be at the Vatican during this historic time.
Yeah, so historical and significant. Wow, thank you.
Thanks, Katie.
Well,